You ready?
Yeah, sure.
Good. It's a great honor, Nalden, to have you here for our first podcast.
Yes.
We're trying to do a series out of it, so you kind of I don't know how you say in English, the rabbit, the tri-rabbit, and
Test animal.
the test animal for us. And if that goes well, we'll continue. If
Thanks,
not,
no pressure.
then that's it. So here's how it works. We'll be like 45 minutes sitting here. I'll have 10 questions. Yeah, we also have an audience. So we'll have 10 questions for you, which you're going to answer me in 2 or 3 minutes, so fast. Then I'm going to tell you what the internet says about you.
Okay.
Who's
Shit.
Nalden.
Don't believe the internet, by the way.
And then we're going to talk about the past, the present, and the future of technology, the innovation in technology, and the digital world. And then, after that, we're going to change seats, and you're going to ask me some questions.
Finally.
So,
with some help of the audience, right? Of all the guests, like.
Perfect. So, you ready for the 10 questions?
Sure, yeah.
Who are you?
I'm a human, male, white male, from the Netherlands. Father of 2, husband to 1.
What do you do?
Biking in Lenzerheide, and used to build a lot of software companies, and nowadays I'm only investing in them.
Where do you refuel?
In Lenzerheide.
What time do you get up in the morning?
Usually 7 or 6:30, depends on the kids.
What are you extremely good at?
You should ask my wife, I think. I don't know.
Does it happen at night? No, I'm just kidding.
No.
Next question. I think that's a good one. What do you find harder, quitting or starting?
Quitting.
Why?
Starting is easy.
Good. On what did you recently change your mind on?
The internet technology as a whole. I mean, there's a lot of, like, I think we only now see the dark side of technology as a society, and I think it's good to, reflect on that as well.
What do you admire?
Jesus. I think the nature. Nature, yeah.
What is the meaning of life?
To give meaning to your life.
Good. Second part. If you type in Nalden into Google, obviously there's
Please don't.
Wikipedia coming. And you know what is interesting? I Googled that a week ago, and yesterday it was gone. I don't know what you did in between. But anyhow, I got the first edition, and then it sounded like this. Nalden is the co-founder of WeTransfer and Present Plus.
That's true.
And first gained his online reputation through his blog nalden.net. Nalden is from the Netherlands and started building websites at the age of 13.
12.
12? Tell me all the errors at the end, okay? A digital native, he became a blogger at 16, and 6 months later his blog was turning a profit.
Yes, but when you're 16, you only need 500 euros.
He has been described by Fast Company as a hybrid of the serial entrepreneur Sean Parker and Jason Kotke, the web designer and blogger. During his time as a blogger, he collaborated with brands such as Nike, Mercedes-Benz, and Vodafone. His first startup as an entrepreneur was the file sharing service WeTransfer in 2009. In 2015, the business took its first round of investments, 25 million, in order to innovate and expand in the US. His digital design studio, Present Plus, is based in Amsterdam and London and has created works such as the in the studio series for the New York Times, featuring designers such as Rick Owens, Victoria Beckham, Donatella Versace, and Albert Elbas, and the Creative Class series, featuring artists such as Damon Albarn and Stefan Sagmeister for WeTransfer. In his personal life, Nalden is a passionate advocate for advancement in education. He has been quoted as saying, "I'd like to be actively involved within making IT, computer science, a mandatory course in schools in the Netherlands. Today, it's better to learn how to code HTML than learn how to speak French, in my opinion. Let's say it's more future-proof."
Well, that's something I reflect on now.
Let's talk about that later. So, are there any completely wrong information there? You want to change that?
Let's change the Wikipedia. Yeah, does somebody have?
It's not in there anymore.
It's pretty outdated, but yeah, I mean, sure. Let's just get on with it. We're here for the Pesko interview, right?
Good. Let's talk about, and that now we're coming back to Pesko, because I mean we're sitting here now in our gallery, and our 111 years are presented on all these walls with the different generations, and obviously what happened with the skis and the gear and everything. So what I want to do with you, as we obviously with 111 years, we have a great history, the past, but we also are now in the present, and it's our duty to look into the future, try to work as good as possible. So in another 111 years, maybe a couple of generations later can celebrate that. What I want to do with you now specifically is because I really admire your person in the technical know-how which you have regarding to what you did in the past. But you're also a very social, like you like nature. Nature is very important for you. So that balance between technology, life, I think is very interesting, and I also want to go a bit deeper into that. But first of all, let's get a common sense on what is the past of the technology, let's say Web 1. Web 1 started 1995, the internet, Netscape, Microsoft, Yahoo, where...
I think most of the people here had a PC with Microsoft Windows 95, 90, the NT, stuff like that. I think Microsoft was the first one where people really got into computers with, personal computing.
Where were you at that time? What did you do?
Behind that computer.
And how did you get into it?
I think, like many people, you get introduced by an uncle or a friend of the family who tells you to buy a computer because it's fun. Then most of the people didn't understand what that fun would be, looking at a screen all day, and still is today. And I just started programming and designing pretty early on. It was the games I played, basically. Like everything in life is a game, and I started building websites like really early on for my father to start with. Did a lot for my father because I also built WeTransfer for him to start with. So he was like the kind of audience I had in mind. Like, okay, if he could understand how to, understand why a website would help him with profiling him. He was a conductor, didn't really need a website, but I still thought it was fun. But to me, like being 12, I realized, okay, I can publish something on the web and the whole world can access this. That's pretty cool. So when you get that insight, the compound effect of that insight is just interesting, I think.
And you mentioned it, so that's how you got into the idea of WeTransfer because of your dad.
Oh yeah, totally. But that was like Web 2 era. So Web 1 is basically like where in the 90s where most of the protocols were built. SMTP, which we use for email, TCP/IP, HTTPS or HTTP at the time, that allowed us to browse the internet. So it was a lot of cool open source projects, protocols that weren't owned by anyone, which is, I think, very interesting, and thank God it was like that at that time. And then the Web 2 era was where centralization happened. So there were like big companies creating interfaces, using those protocols and technology, allowing us to make use of their services. So Google, Apple, Amazon, etc. And in that era, Web 2, I was basically using the technology that was made in the 90s to create an interface for sharing files. So simple that even my dad could use it, because at the time he was just sending photos of his boat, and when parents used to do that, it was like 60 photos spread over 10 emails, so your inbox would crash. So it was very annoying, and the tools at the time couldn't offer a solution to him, so I basically built it for him to start with, and then I just threw it online, blogged about it, and it went viral.
And like, I mean, obviously none of us has done something like this. How does it work? Okay, you put it online?
So you start with this. So this is a MVP, minimal viable product, a prototype. And then hopefully you can get down a slope with this. I don't know, actually, it looks interesting. And I think I built that MVP in Flash, because that was something that was a language that was native to me. I would never recommend anyone to do that. It doesn't even exist anymore. So, but that was the MVP of WeTransfer, basically, and he was able to use it, such as a few others. And the adoption of, I think that's the cool thing of technology, right? Like, the adoption just goes really well when it's a product solving a problem. So it basically blew up.
And then you got contacted by other people, said like, hey, this is great, let's do that bigger.
No, not at all. I mean, a lot of people were just using it, and we had to figure out, how can we scale this? How can we make sure a lot of people can use this service without the service crashing? So we spent 3 years catching up with the growth, taking loans, basically paying for, in the beginning, buying servers, making sure that everybody in the world could use it. And luckily, we were one of the first companies switching to cloud computing on Amazon, AWS. So that was kind of saving us, because with cloud computing, you could basically scale much faster and much cheaper. So you didn't have to hire a lot of people to manage your servers.
And I mean, now we're kind of coming into Web 2, which was, let's say, started around, I mean, you correct me, 2005, 2006, 2007. I mean, then we know the companies who came there, and
Facebook is the big one.
What for me is very interesting, because we met in 2013 for a very nice event here in Lenzerheide. And there's two things, I don't know if you remember, I will never forget that, which I thought, yeah, that's a real tech guy, which it is like in the movie. So one night we had it was a weekend event with also skiing, cultural parts, etc. And one night on Saturday night there was a party, and it was at the Hotel Kurhaus. And back then they didn't have internet in the room, so if you wanted to work, you had to get down to the lobby, and there was this guy Nalden,
big problem, yeah,
in front of his computer, like in a tunnel, and around him there were like, I don't know, 200 people going crazy. And I looked at you, and you were like, there was nothing, like, I mean, it was loud as hell, and you were just so focused. And I think back then you were working on a beta version or something.
Yeah, totally, yeah. It wasn't really great timing for me, because we were launching a new version of our product. So I could have planned that better. It's really not a great idea to ship or launch something when you're in a disco.
How did it come out actually?
Pretty okay. I mean, in the end, like when I left, so I left WeTransfer in 2018. When I left at like 75 million users every month, pretty decent business. And I mean, it's just fun to like, so I spent a decade at the company I've built. I mean, there's no technology company that exists 111 years. So I think there's also a lot to learn from family businesses in the world of technology, right? So I think that to me is very interesting in being here. Like, how do you think really long term? And I think that's also what Web3 is going to bring. See how I made that bridge?
Crazy. But let me tell another story. So, which also, I don't know if you're, at least I will not forget it. Because for me, it showed a bit, like when you're in that world, these technology things just come more natural. So I was driving you guys back to the airport on Monday or Tuesday. And so you were talking in the car and you guys were talking about Facebook and Instagram. Like I was driving the car and I heard about Instagram, but it didn't say anything to me, you know. And you were arguing like, yeah, I mean, and I think Facebook bought Instagram later, no? Yeah. Or was it before? I'm not sure. Anyhow, and you said there, I mean, Facebook needs to buy Instagram, otherwise it's gone for them. I'm like, what is actually Instagram and what is the guy talking about, you know? Now, I don't know, like 8-9 years later, I understand. You guys are so close to that environment and what's happening and the speed of it, which is just for the normal person out here, it's impossible to catch up.
Well, I think that's one of the cool things with software, right? Goes pretty fast. Also goes pretty fast out of business, by the way. So not sure if it's always nice, but I mean, so two things. Like you may not be in the technology business, but technology is in your business. So you better get the hang of it a little bit. And with software, the languages develop so quickly that you have to, you know, be able to adapt to it, also strategically, but also from like a real building point of view. So I don't know, when you grow up with the internet, it kind of goes naturally, like you skiing and biking, or more skiing.
So
I don't know. It's just like you see, like it's the same in fashion, right? You know, you have a lot of new brands starting, and then there's an era of consolidation, and then you know get bought by bigger brands, and so it's always like this wave. Same in tech.
So to finish Web 2, why did you stop with WeTransfer?
That was more personal. Like I became a father, wanted to sit less behind the screen. I also like the start of a business or building something when there's more magic involved and when it's less about numbers and managing people. You know, I learned about myself, like let's just, you know, I'm not good or I don't get pleasure about managing, you know, 150 people, setting up agents or offices in LA, New York. It's not my thing. I like to build software with a small group of people. And the cool thing about software is just you can do that with, you know, 5 to 10 people and have millions of users. That's just great fun.
Scalability.
Yeah, and the profit margins are 99%, so it's pretty, pretty cool.
Which brings us to Web 3, where now, as Pesko, we also tiny little bit can talk about it because we took the last 2 years to really do a lot of homeworks, and for our 111-year anniversary, we gifted ourselves with a Pesko token and an NFT project behind it.
Which is amazing, by the way. I mean, I'm not sure if everybody understands, but the fact that Pesko already has his own token is amazing.
You will. We'll talk about that in 10 years. But please correct me. But because Web3 for me is probably the most homework I did. Because I must say, back in the days, Web1 was kind of too far away. Web2, as a shop, we talked bad about it a bit. Because like, who's gonna buy a 2,000 Swiss franc bag over the internet? Everybody does.
Everyone, yeah.
And so we learned that lesson. So and we said, so next time the step from 2.0 to 3.0 comes, we're gonna dig in, and that's what we did. And what is interesting with also regarding looking back at the history, for me, what is interesting is Web 1 was reading, Web 2 was reading and writing, and Web 3 is now you read, you write, and you own.
Yeah.
How do you see that?
The same. It's the cool thing about the Web3 era, and it's still very early, but the new protocols are being written based on blockchain technology, and that allows a lot of possibilities, basically. So I try to sort of make this bring alive, but it's like the infrastructure of the new internet is being built today, and you can basically co-own part of that infrastructure. So it's like back in the day, railways were being laid and built, or highways, and you could basically be a co-owner of that infrastructure. So that's, I think, very exciting time to be alive, to see, you know, the web of tomorrow, to have a community have ownership of that. So it's less about there's one person in a company owning everything. It's more about this is a community project.
Where are you at the moment within the Web3 world? What interests you? Or you have specific projects going on, or how do you interact with that area now?
Yeah, so so there's the whole privacy movement, and obviously the true believers, Bitcoin, etc. That's the most safest crypto blockchain technology there is. And then you have like the Ethereum community, where there's a lot of development happening, and they just moved to proof of stake. I don't know if we need to get too technical about this, but and that's where like a lot of applications are being built that are in the end very useful for us humans. So I get really excited about how the development community is extremely engaged. So I think what's good to understand is when engineers, like brilliant people who can code everything and get excited about things, quit their jobs to start building things in Web3, that's always a good sign. And that's what's happening mostly on Ethereum platform. So the protocols of today are built for the web of tomorrow.
Do you have something?
Does that make sense?
Makes sense. Do you have something in your mind which could help your dad again?
No, I'm the dad now, so. No, I do think a lot about like how do, for instance, blockchain technology allows us a lot to measure things, and I think especially with climate change, that becomes suddenly measurable. So carbon emissions, everything can be measured now, and I think that's a very interesting area for me to see like which startups are building tools that allow people to measure progress in how we do, how companies do, how we humans do, with carbon emission offset, for example, and then, you know, challenge governments to, you know, regulate better based on these data insights. That to me is very interesting because, you know, in a few years' time there's no snow anymore. It kind of sucks.
That's definitely a
No.
big issue.
Too negative? Sorry.
Oh, we still can bike. I mean, but
Yeah.
it's not that
Good for biking.
you know. One.
But you can't breathe then anymore. Breathing is necessary.
Also, a question of mine to you as a father of two. My kids are now 2 and 4. How do you handle, or what is a well-balanced situation for kids with being online, being in front of the screen?
Yeah, don't.
But you cannot deny it. You cannot take it away from them.
Well, sure. When they're like that young, you can take it away, and you should, I think. So most of the software designed today, still Web 2, is designed to be pretty addictive. And that's just really bad for you. It's bad for your health, bad for your mental health. So just don't use it. I mean, there's a lot of great things about the internet technology, and you can look up as much as information as you want. But these days, there's no humans behind it. It's sort of programmatic algorithms, whatever. Basically serving you content, so you keep playing in the casino.
But you think Web3 can change that?
Yeah.
So you're more optimistic about the future than you were probably 4 years
Well,
ago?
I choose to be an optimist, because otherwise life is really grim. But I mean, you should spare children. You know, children have to learn later on, right? I think when they're like really young, they should just play outside. Way better.
Good. So basically what you are saying is, for example, Google is evil.
Oh yeah, for sure. 100%. Alphabet now, but yeah. I mean, the amount of knowledge, Google knows you better than your wife. Sorry, Lara. Same with Facebook, right? They have so many data points gathered about you. It's just frightening. You can now ask about it, and then you get the data set that they have of you. But it's really frightening that they know so much about you and misuse that. So all of us can promote our brand very specifically. But also governments can misuse that information, and it gets really, it's not cool when you're declined a mortgage, for example, because of your web history.
But I'm there optimistic that Web3 will change a lot, because I think we in the future can decide.
Yeah, because there's no one company or person owning the data. The data is public. It's on the blockchain. So it's a whole different attitude towards technology.
I agree. And that makes it more democratic, actually.
Yeah, slightly. I mean, in some cases, you can still own a lot of tokens of an initiative, for example, which gives you more voting power, but it's still community voting power, and that vote is still registered, so you always know what agenda someone is pushing.
Exactly. Should we change seats?
Yes, and now I do need the help of every one of you a little bit, because we can start asking provoking questions to Nico about anything, basically, like how was growing up in Lenzerheide when the house was still smaller. When did you start, going online here? Did they had internet back in the day?
Let me answer the first question. Growing up in Switzerland in general is a pure luxury thing, very privileged, and especially living in the mountains. I mean, when you're talking to people in the Arabic countries where they cannot drink tap water, we just open it. We are showering in tap water. We have beautiful nature outside. We can be active, and we're very privileged. And I think it's very important that you realize how privileged we are, obviously. And that's.
But that came later. How was it when you were a child?
As a child, I had everything. Nothing was missing. nice parents, they didn't beat me. I could go to school.
Thank you, man.
We were vacation. No, like again, very privileged. Regarding the internet, I remember in school, the first time in these computers was Yahoo, and then you had the news. But like, to be honest, I was not into that. Like yeah, we did a lot of sports, you know. I mean, we were gaming, yeah, like Tony Hawk games, PlayStation.
Yeah.
I did them all, you know, like we were gaming, but not different. So from the early days, internet, web, that was not really putting a fire inside of me and going crazy. Yeah. It was I had a very slow rhythm with Web 1 and 2.
But so, and then around the age of 28, you sort of started thinking like, okay, like, you know, taking on the Pesko family business into the future is on my trajectory. How were you thinking about technology then? Because the store didn't have an online web shop for like why bother indeed. So, but now like for this anniversary, you started doing NFTs, tokens, which is immediately like a leapfrog. Like you basically skipped Web 2, and now you're starting very early on with Web 3 technology.
I mean,
why?
To be honest, like at around 26, 27, I came into the family business. You know, my parents were very gentle with us in the sense of like till 28 you can decide. So again, very privileged here. And I mean, I grew up in this shop. I grew up with people, with smelling, touching, feeling, and so that was always the first, let's say, source. You know, it's like, okay, if we do that well, we are successful. Why bother doing something else? Why bother entering into doing a shop, etc.? And that's also, I mean, looking back at it, it's like staying a bit in the comfort zone. No? Like, why change something when it works? And then obviously, like, you know, Amazon came, Zalando came, and
no, exactly. And so, sorry to interrupt, but like, why change something when it works? That's what Polaroid thought, and Nokia thought the same. They don't exist anymore. Pesko still exists. So why is that?
Yeah, I think
just comparing you to Nokia.
Yeah, that's a bit.
Wow.
I'm getting a bit red now. No, like, to be honest, I mean, I think you need to do in our business a lot of things wrong that it goes that fast. But I mean, between 2010 and 2016, 17, 18, we also had a bit of the Euro shock in Switzerland. You know, like it was tougher times, and we had to get out of the comfort zone. But to be honest, what happened then is, as I said, like Zalando came and Amazon came, they actually did a great job. Because what they did is, like, we have, I don't know, 20,000 different articles here, and they have 20 million or something, you know, and they deliver it home. So they had a great service, a lot of comfort in easy paying, nice pros, like you could order. So, and back in the days, like, first of all, we couldn't do it. Like we are also very bad at logistics, I must say. And then what I did, and I think that's a big mistake, is like, if you don't like something and you see actually they're doing it, it makes sense, and it's customer centric, you start to talk bad about it a bit. Like you don't walk around the streets, but it's like, yeah, Zalando, they have people order it there and then they return it. They never made profit. Amazon, 20 years no profit. Like, look who's laughing now, you know? And I think that was a big lesson there, where I changed in like 17, 18, and then with Corona, that was like the trigger. I mean, because what happened when on March 16, government closed us, right? So then I realized, fuck, if my doors are closed, I don't do business anymore. And that felt like, you know, somebody's taking
away
your breath away, you know. And then I got kind of mad and I said, the government, you know, it's always pointing at the other. and it's not the other, it's you. And at some point I realized, oh shit, I think I have to look in the mirror, and it's me who's the problem, not the others. And then we really started to doing some homeworks, and the homeworks were more like, okay, let's figure out in that whole digital world, what can we do? What's a quick win? What we have to do in 1 year, or what can we do in 1 year and in 2 years? And if we're there, let's see if we have a dessert in that thing. So we really started, and we did a lot. Like we did a new homepage. That's nothing crazy, but a new online booking platform for all our rentals, which is really like
which is a no-brainer.
No-brainer, but like really, you book your Uber, you book your ski at us. That we did, like direct customer feedback. We did digitalized our workshop with bike. Our ski service machine is now digitally. So all the parts which we could do and could do fast, we did, and also in a manner which we think is suitable for our company.
And I think what also really sets you guys apart is it's always about the relationships. It's about people, and I think that's also why Web3 for you guys is really interesting, because it's community powered. It's about people. It's about relationships. So I think the next era, the next 111 years, is going to be very interesting for the Pesko family.
Yeah, and I think, as I said, it's about balancing. I mean, still probably 95 or 90% of our turnover is physically people coming in, talking to us. Like, it's very personal, it's very special. But I think, maybe in 10, 20 years, or when the kids want to take over, maybe it's 80-20 or 70-30. And for that now, we I think did some homework, and that's very important.
That is interesting, because Nico did make some NFTs, basically digital collectibles, like a painting. Let's call it like that, which you can sort of win.
Yeah.
I'm kind of promoting your campaign without knowing everything, but the cool thing is, once you have this NFT, it can become valuable. Don't worry, it's not an image that looks like an ape, I hope.
No.
But it can become valuable, and since you're all Swiss, it will be valuable. So maybe in the future that can be like a real game changer, that it's, 50-50.
I mean, to quickly explain what it is, like what we did, a Pesko token.
Yeah.
And all our customers got a code, or they can download the wallet, that wallet is from a Swiss startup, very interesting. So they get 20 Pesko tokens until December 3rd.
Which is like money, right?
Yeah, it's basically like how do you say?
What can you buy with it?
It's 1 token is 1 franc, and basically with 20 francs at us you can buy something, but
coffee.
Not a lot, but you can buy some
coffee.
But that's actually not the main target. It's like you spend the tokens and you automatically get into how do you say, a chance with winning NFT. So on January 1st, you can check your wallet if you won 1 out of 111 NFTs. And these 111 NFTs, 2 are lifelong ski services if you are the owner of that NFT.
So it's like you have a painting, and you can then ski for the rest of your life. 1 life? Or because the cool thing about an NFT is transferable, so you can give it to your kids. And they can ski for the rest of their lives for free with Pesko.
I guess these are the interesting questions now. Not a lot can answer. I would say as long as the company exists,
nice.
that's has the value, the utility stays obviously. And but I mean that's not the end. What we are thinking is if you own the NFT, and I mean I'm sorry, the other ones are you get a free ski service or a bike service. but the utilities say so. As an NFT holder, you're in the club of the 111.
Got it.
And maybe at some point, I think the CEO of the lift company is here. The owner of that NFT gets first choice at 8 o'clock at the gondola. So every gondola in the morning, he gets to be on that as a... if he has that Pesko NFT or, I don't know, a certain trail...
it just comes with benefits.
Exactly, or utilities, yeah.
And it's easy to take that with you. It's easy to transfer it. Would be amazing if we can use it in multiple countries.
Yeah, let's start small.
Okay.
I mean, it feels very early, everything.
Yeah.
And I think why we did it is obviously we were in that rabbit hole. So let's say, like, okay, let's do it too. I mean, we had the fun and we did it. I don't know where we're traveling to, but it's going to be a hell of a ride. And I think that's blockchain. I think it's really the third industrial revolution which we're in. And if that is going to happen, it's massive.
It's already happening, but I agree.
Thanks a lot, Nalden. I knew
Thank you, Nico.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, thank you for inviting everyone. I'm the host now, so I can just... yeah, there's a party downstairs in the garage. My German is not good, but...
Yes.
That's where the after party is, I guess. You can still ask questions to Nico online on Twitter. He needs some more followers. The podcast is on all the streaming sites, I guess. It will live.
We don't know yet.
I hope your next guest will be your mother, because I already learned she has tons of amazing stories about the heritage of Pesko as well. So yeah, I think we should continue with the future.
Thanks, it was a pleasure to be your guest here. And I hope to see you back in Lenzerheide too. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.